Oh boy, I'm in for it.
Did you know? Advance Wars is actually the fifth entry in a series generally referred to as Nintendo Wars. The first game in the series was Famicom Wars, followed by Game Boy Wars 1, 2, and 3, as well as Super Famicom Wars. A faster-paced Turbo edition of Game Boy Wars was also made with more levels, though this is largely considered the same game. Although the Wars series had stayed in Japan up to this point, Advance Wars was lucky to see a release in Japan at all. The game was one of several projects Nintendo made as part of their lineup of launch titles for the Game Boy Advance, but they were stretching themselves thin. In order to help alleviate their workload, Nintendo asked Intelligent Systems to aid with development of Advance Wars. At the time, the team was told that turn-based games weren't popular outside of Japan due to their complicated nature. Early on, members of Intelligent Systems would get together and discuss their ideas for the game. These ideas were almost always shot down by Nintendo for being too sophisticated and unsuitable for a casual audience. In response, the team worked to make the title simpler and easier to understand. One way they did this was by adding a detailed tutorial so players wouldn't have to read the game manual before playing. Members of the team also incorporated elements from their own favorite game genres into Advance Wars. For example, the precision of movement when controlling units was inspired by shooter games, and rhythm games like Beat Mania helped to add a rhythm to the way the games played. When Nintendo of America's marketing team got a chance to try Advance Wars, they loved it, deciding the game was suitable for a full international release. The game received critical acclaim in North America and may have helped change Nintendo's view of the Western market. Kentaro Nishimura, the game's designers, cited the success of Advance Wars as a key reason why Nintendo eventually released Fire Emblem outside of Japan. Since the games had a similar playstyle, Nintendo thought the American Game Boy Advance audience had been primed for Fire Emblem. This seems fitting, as Fire Emblem only exists at all
Someone's
thanks to
birthday?
the original Famicom Wars, with the first Fire Emblem using the Famicom Wars engine. Advance Wars was launched in North America first, with
What's a Paimon's message?
shortly after. Ironically, despite originally being planned as a Japan-only title, Advance Wars actually ended up being cancelled in Japan. One explanation for this is that the game's original
Anniversary of when I first started playing or something, maybe?
Just 1 month after the September 11th terror
Apparently in the same day as Artaki Ito's birthday.
Is that the game was pushed back due to the release of Game Boy Wars 3, which came out in August of 2001. It's possible Nintendo didn't want their own games competing with each other, and delayed Advance Wars to give Game Boy Wars 3 a fighting chance. Due to Advance Wars being cancelled, the game's sequel, Advance Wars 2 Black Hole Rising, was also cancelled in Japan, despite both being developed in the country. The games finally saw a Japanese release in the form of a 2-in-1 compilation cartridge in 2004. Prior to the release of Advance Wars Dual Strike on the Nintendo DS. However, cancellations would continue to plague the series in Japan. The next installment, Advance Wars Days of Ruin, was released internationally in 2008, but was ultimately cancelled in Japan following a series of delays. Interestingly, the international versions of Days of Ruin contain a full Japanese translation in their data, though it's only available through hacking. This seems to indicate that the Japanese version of the game was fully complete, ready for release well before it was cancelled. Days of Ruin would eventually become available in Japan in 2013 as a downloadable title for members of the Club Nintendo Reward Program. Although many Advance Wars titles released in Japan after the West, the Japanese game seems to serve as the base for all titles. After both versions of Advance Wars released, gamers saw several notable differences between the two versions. Most of the game's commanding officers had their names changed in the West, and some were even given redesigns. Nell was originally named Catherine and wore a sleeveless top with a shorter skirt. Drake was named Mop and seemed more like a traditional pirate. Sanja, originally called Asuka, wore glasses instead of a hat, and her uniform was changed from red to green.
Why the fuck did they change that?
Billy, or a cowboy hat. Most drastic changes were made to Olaf, who was originally named Whip. and had a white beard and a Santa hat. And Kanbei, who was called Kikuchiyo and wore samurai armor in the Japanese game. Other differences from the Japanese version include the term shogun being changed to commanding officer, and the Red Star Army being renamed to Orange Star. This subtle change in color was possibly to avoid direct comparisons to communist regimes. In Advance Wars 2, many of the visual changes to commanding officers were at least partially incorporated into the Japanese designs, leading to fewer differences between officers in both releases. In Japan, Advance Wars 1 and 2 are known as Game Boy Wars Advance 1 and 2. Although the Advance Wars name was kept for the DS games,
Where are the enemies here again?
Days of Ruin, West, both titles adopted the leading title
It's those two
Famicom
bitches,
Wars
isn't it?
DS in Japan. Days of Ruin had a notable tonal shift for the series, having a somewhat more realistic and gritty art style. According to one of the game's English localizers, Tim O'Leary, the change was made due to some fans saying the series was becoming repetitive and predictable. Interestingly, the shift was also influenced by sales data. Although it began as a Japan-only franchise, Advance Wars have become much more popular in North America than in Japan. As such, Intelligent Systems altered the game's tone in an attempt to cater to Westerners. Intelligent Systems also felt that the new style fit better with Days of Ruin's near-future sci-fi setting.
Time to shine! Look me ahead!
There are several unique secrets and Easter eggs hidden in the Advance Wars series. First game's tutorial level, Copter Tactics, the player is instructed to win by capturing enemy's headquarters. If the player instead wins by routing the enemy, it triggers an alternate dialogue from Nell, where she congratulates the player for their work. Conversely, in the first tutorial level of Advance Wars 2, the player somehow manages to run out of fuel. Nell will scold Andy for goofing around and tell him to forfeit the level. In the map editor mode of Advance Wars 2, if the player repeatedly attempts to place a unit on a square at least 50 times in a row, it'll cause Nell to interject with a snarky comment, saying, "You must really like doing that over and over again. Keep it up." If the player holds down the L and R buttons while selecting the map editor, the game will load a special bonus map that spells out Nintendo in kanji. This same map appears in both Advance Wars 1 and 2. Dual Strike also includes a new bonus map featuring the name of the sequence itself. Another interesting fact about Advance Wars is that practically all of the weapons and vehicles in the game are based on real devices. For example, the Orange Star Mechanized Infantry is inspired by the American M20A1/A1B1 Super Bazooka, and the Blue Moon Mech unit is based on the Russian RPG-7 rocket launcher. The Orange Star fighter jets also resemble the American F-15 Eagle, while the Blue Moon jet seems to be based on the French Dassault Mirage 3. The original Advance Wars also contains a bizarre glitch involving the map editor. To trigger the glitch, the player must first play the level Naval Forces and lose by allowing the enemy to destroy their T-copter, then go to the map editor. By placing one unit the game will respond as though the player's forces have been moved out. The player then exits the editor using a menu rather than the map editor menu. The map editor's features will be available to use anywhere in the game. This glitch has several practical applications. First and foremost, it can be used to delete enemy units during a normal level, allowing the player to easily bypass ammunition in the game. Additionally, the glitch can also be used to save the campaign maps as custom maps, which allows the player to use custom maps that are smaller than the default size of 30 by 20 tiles. The War series was also planned to appear on the Nintendo 64. In 1999, Nintendo announced a new entry in the series to be released for the Nintendo 64. Dubbed 64 Wars, or Advance Wars 64 by fans. The game was being developed by Hudson Soft rather than series creators Intelligent Systems. Hudson likely got this opportunity because of their work on Game Boy Wars Turbo and Game Boy Wars 2. Much like previous titles, the gameplay of 64 Wars would involve players controlling units on a 2D grid. However, the game would transition to 3D graphics to illustrate key moments in battle, as well as combat between units. 64 Wars was also going to feature connectivity with Game Boy Wars 2 via the Nintendo 64 Transfer Pack. According to promotional material, players could start playing a level on their Nintendo 64 and then transfer the game to their Game Boy to continue playing on the go. They could even transfer it back to the N64 to finish the level. Sadly, 64 Wars was a short-lived project. It's only ever shown in a few magazine ads and previewed at Nintendo's Space World event in 1999. No reason was given for the game's cancellation, but Hudson did go on to make a third Game Boy Wars game. The series would eventually make it to the Game Boy, in the form of Battalion Wars 1 and 2. Although these entries have different gameplay and are considered a sub-series, they were originally announced under the title Advance Wars Under Fire, and are known as Assault Famicom Wars vs. Japan. The Advance Wars name was dropped in the West so that players didn't expect the game to play like a typical Wars game. Did you also know that The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was planned to be played in a first-person perspective? Or that the game started out as a remake of Zelda 2, Adventure of Link? For more facts, check out the Did You Know Gaming video on Ocarina of Time. For more video game history, feel free to check out my channel, The Gaming Historian. Thanks for watching.
I've never really liked Did You Know Gaming. Watched some of their videos back then, but eventually stopped watching them. There was just something about the channel and the videos that they made that I didn't quite like. Now that I rewatched this video on Advance Wars, I think I finally know the reason for that. That's cause their videos feel really soulless. And that is supposed to be the point. They're just supposed to be facts. No opinions of any kind. When I see the same fact reiterated on a different video by a different personality, it feels much more correct to me because they're actually the YouTuber is actually interjecting their own opinion rather than just stating something as if it were a fact, I guess.
Is the VGC counterpart to our previous video, the most used Pokemon of all time for singles. Go check that out if you haven't already. These Pokemon have either stood the test of time and appeared in multiple years of VGC, or they were so centralized into the year they debuted that they shaped the metagame in their own image. Let's get started. And while we translate singles to doubles play, learn to translate languages because this video is sponsored by Mondly. It's offering 96% off for lifetime access. This top 5 language learning app is practically giving itself away at 96% off. And that's a steal because Mondly offers language lessons in over 1,320 language combinations. What do you mean by combinations, you might wonder? Is this Pokemon? Well, Mondly offers 41 foreign languages to learn from 33 native languages. So for me, me, my native tongue is obviously English, so I just inputted that, and now I can quickly start several American English and Japanese courses. And Monly is designed in a way to learn language speaking proficiently through daily use. To do so, it has daily lessons where I can build my proficiency in Japanese by taking 10-minute lessons every day. And the best part about it is that a lot of the content on here is practical and focused on conversations from very specific situations that you'd probably find yourself in. So for me, I selected travel as my primary reason for wanting to learn Japanese. And wouldn't you know it, there's travel-specific lessons for me. All of this and more when you download Monly. So if you want to practically steal all of this content and also support the channel to help us produce more content, click the link in the description below to take advantage of Monly's summer sale and get 96% off lifetime access to all languages. And thank you so much to Monly for sponsoring this video.
Add asterisk.
All of the genies have had their moment in the sun, or more often, the rain. But the first one we'll visit is Tornadus. Along with his brother, these two basically charged rent to any other Pokemon foolish enough to try and step on their territory of the 2011 meta. Fitting its elemental predisposition, Tornadus' main job was to set up Tailwind with Prankster.
Chlorine will come soon enough, and then I can buy the rest of the monthly shop stuff.
Ensuring that its speed control was king.
And now
2011 had a very limited selection of Pokemon to choose.
we're doing this.
Tornadus could also just kind of outstat all of his competitors. Add in the fact that the meta was chock full of strong fighting types, and you had a recipe for success, even with acrobatics as its only viable flying attack. Tornadus and Thundurus were in fact so often used that a few players developed a strategy designed around exploiting their presence, Rivalry Haxorus, which took advantage of the fact that genies were locked to the male gender for a free power boost. Tornadus landed on 6 of 2011's top 8. Presence only rivaled by one other bond. Thundurus may not have offered Tailwind, but it brought a potentially even more diabolical form of speed control in the dreaded Prankster Thunderwind. It had the same fighting resistance as Tornadus, matched up well into its fellow genie, and one of the best special attack stats in the format, which it could use way better than Tornadus thanks to its reliable Thunderbolt. Thundurus was the de facto Pokemon in the format, present on almost every single series team with its mix of disruption and power, which was among the best when fully dialed into special attack. And now it's time to talk about Ray Rizzo. Talk about Ray Rizzo's groundbreaking bulky Thundurus a lot on this channel. He deserves it. Ray
More
took the
healing
entire
based
competitive
stuff.
scene by surprise with his bold Thundurus packing a Chardy Berry for extra survivability measures that let it stick around longer than anyone expected. You know what's better than one super strong Thunderbolt? 2 very strong Thunderbolts, or a Thunderbolt and a Thunderwave, or a Hidden Power Flying thrown in for the mix. In this case, it's important to talk about Ray's Thundurus because it set the tone for Thundurus in years after. Tornadus may have fallen off after 2011, but Thundurus continued to be one of the best Pokemon in BGC for years after. Even once it started to get outmatched offensively, it was hard to turn down the sheer disruptive power Thundurus could generate all on its own. As our dear friend Aaron Cybertron Zhang knows so well, Thundurus may never have reached the near 80% usage it had in its 2011 heydays, but it's got the most World's Top 8 appearances ever at 24. If that doesn't qualify for the highest usage, I don't know what does. Cresselia is the grand matron of BGC, a Pokemon with a history so lengthy. The second screen of the DS career. It top 8 for the first time in 2010 when Ray Rizzo won the championship. Then it showed up at World's Top 8 last year. 13-year span longer than
Dare to mess with me? Have fun with this gift. Teamwork is dreamwork. Your toast. Nice and spicy. Enhanced cannon will mark.
Making one of the top ever created.
Absorption test. Stand clear.
Partner with Hope and as of last year,
Truth repeats its course. Everybody stand back. Eat this. Get this. Mark 2. Animal test 6308.
Throughout the years. 2012, 6th in the top 8. Top 8 out of Cresselia. Funnily enough,
Strike a pose. Time to shine.
yes,
Submit.
most players
I am the cutting edge magic fashion.
Alternative
I must leave no stone unturned, as a dutiful maid would.
Metagame very well. Cresselia was the most used Pokemon at World for the following years. Percent presence across the board. And finally, it was the first letter of Chalk in 2015. The techie speed control center that enabled that composition's beautiful mode. Many Pokemon have come and gone in sea history. Cresselia stands tall for more than a decade, untroubled by the shifts of time. Brilliant.
Sense over years of a storm. Let's light it up. Teamwork is dreamwork.
Of all time, this frustration is simple and hard to stop anyway. Brilliant. Public enemy number 1
Stand
is
clear.
28. Of course, that is not everything. Sliding it off.
Absorption test. Dare to mess with me. I'm going in. Enhanced animal module. Animal test 6308.
Intimidation, shore up,
Let's light it up.
Still type. Any ideas? The Xerneas and Incineroar duel perhaps only matched in synergy by how frustrating they can.
Let the world fly.
Let's use the Xerneas run over the team. But is 6% or higher usage rate. All
Steady as stone, as a good knight should.
up until the first Xerneas.
I'll catch up.
At which point everyone said, screw this. Instead, and a multi third place in usage. Oh no, how will it ever survive? Like, well, it turns out, Xerneas' invitation can back up to near 50% of the world. Xerneas assured that it would haunt the trees of the easy players ever after. A Pokemon so broken that Game Freak had to immediately nerf its ability the next generation. Mega Kangaskhan was the Pokemon to beat in Gen 6 VGC. This isn't a complex Pokemon. It Mega Evolves, takes you out for like 30% of your health, and it hits you hard again for probably 300% of your health. Turn, but you power up your sucker punches from it depending on the circumstance.
Everybody stand back! Ears of the storm! Dare to mess with me?
So on and so forth. It's how you end up
Absorption test!
Play a game error season on. Also how you end up with
Teamwork is dreamwork! Let's light it!
chalk for all of the
Have fun with this game!
the past Mega Kangaskhan. I skipped the level this meeting in it. Only 1% of it's comparatively the most used. But still only. This is the thing with Mega King. Everyone knows it's broken, but your opponent knows it. Your friend who doesn't know the issue for punching knows it. So there was a ton of strategies to counter it. Over 20
Time to shine!
and multiple versions thought Kangaskhan usage.
Don't waste my time.
Everyone who focused on
Fuck,
Delicate
really?
as silk.
You block
I must leave
constructs?
no
You
stone
fucking
unturned,
bitch.
as a dutiful maid would.
Have an answer to that question. Fire. Chances are when you think of VGC, there's a different furry fire type intimidator that leaps to mind. Before the Wrestle Cat became more intimidating, took its seat on VGC's throne, Arcanine was the top dog, and one of the most powerful examples of how a limited metagame drastically skewed usage. 2017's Alola only format, and Arcanine was one of the only viable intimidators allowed, the primary others being Gyarados and Salamence. While both of those are good mons in their own right, Gyarados had a rough go of it in 2017's Coco Overrun Waters, and Salamence came with its own consistent common mons such as Ninetales and the other Tabus. Arcanine, by contrast, sported a very resistant and excellent support, including Snarl and Will-O-Wisp, and reliable recovery via Morning Sun. Cycling Intimidate. Pair that with good matchups into Kartana, Ninetales, and Celesteela, you've got one of the best Pokemon in the format. The decent stats back that up. Later in the format, Arcanine became a near mandatory inclusion on many builds and teams, reaching staggering usage stats at the highest level of competition. Arcanine was on over 70%
Shower me with praise! Let my name be
in Oceania.
Give up! Your might is mine! Don't waste my time! I am the cutting edge of fashion! Leave it all to me, as a good knight should.
That said, it was
I'll catch up.
Intimidator on Friday. Outside of 27, Arcanine often struggles with competition with Supergrower and Lanter's team, but on the rare occasion, those mons aren't in the format. Because of the early Sword and Shield meta, well, every dog has his thing.
Everyone hold hands! Sharing my knowledge!
Only Pokemon
As you wish,
This
mein
Arcanine
Fräulein.
usage in 27. And if you remember the Arcanine usage stat, you know how nuts that is.
The sword from Shadow.
A right time for everything. Get a lower deck to fast-paced special.
I see everything.
Second fastest Pokemon in the format.
Hey.
Right up in the type.
Good.
Pick up for special attack. Give the benefit of electric terrain or its made up. Just Electric Z or Life Orb. Tapu Koko was a fast, hard-hitting missile in a format that didn't have many of those Pokemon to go around. While Tapu Koko's coverage is limited, it also worked out nicely for the format. Any ground type of fun set.
Let the world collide. It's no.
Knocked out by a
Submit.
Don't
waste my time. I must leave no stone unturned. Time to clean up.
Pokemon all formats long, reaching a 75% growth at the North American International. Holding strong at 6% on Pro. Every team except for one is a Pokemon. Picking up one of only 6 Pokemon.
Give up.
Never be
Your
7
life is
out of
mine.
8 World's top.
Don't waste my time.
Be a strong presence throughout Gen 17.
Am I the only one who thinks it sounds like Meng Wang is specifically saying you are there instead of your? Like you can hear the tilde for some reason. I don't know why. It might just be me.
Make yourself a move. Shadow Raven. Where here I go? Ninjutsu. Incoming. Cut to the chase.
Not hard to understand what so good.
Don't blink. Hey.
Just for this, you didn't say type both offensively and defensively.
Everyone hold hands.
That was a good step.
The Temple of Wisdom.
For being purposes,
The
you got a staff
insubordination.
spread that just so happens to hit some of the best Pokemon.
By royal decree.
Once I heard at the same exception, Butterbean has consistently been the most used Pokemon in the game over multiple formats. Every percentage is a new contender. Urshifu, Raging Ball, Ogre whatever. They all pale before Flutter. Butterbean's staying power comes from the seemingly endless customized build. To large part to the pickup stability of
Your journey ends here, Lord of Sand. Your sacrifice is ready. Finish now!
And are still evolving. Over Scarlet and Violet's life.
Still, as a dutiful maid would.
Choice factor. Even Stash Parasol Butter, courtesy of Wolf. But we talk about Wolf a lot on this channel. It's a useful case study here. Wolf eats Parastrap Butter at the at that point, the biggest showed up to the
Speed up the look. My sword from Shadow. I see everything. Make yourselves a move. Wings of Darkness. Incoming. Hey.
Still finding these new Slaughter Nations surprises opponents. That's a testament to the potential of this mod as a whole. Single restricted formats on the way in, and Calyrex Shadow Rider Butterbean may find itself relegated to the bench for the first time in Gen 9, but it's indisputably the best and most used Pokemon of the generation. Other than Kyogre are in cases compared to this video. To be honest, neither of them have reached the absurd usage stats we see on some other VGC Pokemon. That's not to say they haven't reached pretty high highs. Both of them have been at 60% usage before in top level. But you're probably never going to see the 70 or 80% usage that other VGC stalwarts might have. That's because they're only permitted in formats along with other super powerful restricted legendaries. And those legendaries are strong in their own right. Hell, in the current format, Groudon and Kyogre aren't even top tier picks. But it would be wrong not to mention them, even if they've never totally centralized one of the game.
Everybody stand back! Truth repeats its course.
That's Pokemon of the format. That can't help me defined by their presence.
Enhanced Animal Module 70... Animal Test 6308.
Powerful strength. Never the Pokemon even on this legendary power grid. Strong contenders in the fact that it's
Teamwork is dreamwork!
have fun with this game! Here's what it comes down to.
Get them!
For restricted VGC format, as
Animal hypostasis simulation. Absorption test.
as card thing. Otherwise, you are going to guarantee you have a very
Don't break my go. Animal Test 6308.
King of Singles is the viceroy of BGC, one of the single greatest Pokemon to ever hit the book, and the true genie of the health meta. And does gold
Let my name echo in song!
is a fearsome attacker, the best friend in BGC history.
Give up. Delicate as silk.
And it is for fighting with
I must leave no stone unturned. Time to clean up.
Whenever needed, to the Toy Star, the Light World, wearing the Skull Vest or Rocky Helmet, whatever. Chances are Landers will find a way to work. Uneasy, short a lack of reliable black people, and repeated.
Shower me with praise.
It's
Time to shine. Don't waste my time.
Set of attacker. Last year, double formidable terror against Air Blast body into flying rocket.
Lend me a hand. Leave it up to me. As a beautiful maid would. I'll catch up.
It was a crucial bond for basically every team because of its great matchups into every single Mega Pokemon in the format. Wow, Kang, and the other physical attackers hated its intimidating. Charizard loathed Rock Slide. Landorus was almost always on over half.
Let's get down to business.
Gears of the storm. Too late for it. Nice fight. You're toast. Absorption test.
Every single
Stand clear. Enhanced animal module 75.
Landorus held 5
Teamwork is dreamwork. Keeps its course. Absorption test.
Can that be? Okay,
Dare to mess with me.
the single greatest BDC Pokemon of all time.
Get them. Let's light it up. I'm going in. Have fun with this gift. Too late for regret. You're toast. Animal hypostasis emulation.
There have been many times
Everybody stand back. The truth repeats its course.
It's a great natural posture. Make out parting shot. Wash. I mean, I'm getting off track, but it's absurd how many they've given to this stupid cat. It's even got Coach out cut down opposing parting shot and other groups of the opponent. Oh, and then he's got a base 100%. How much all of it? Actually, damage. I call Xerneas the most violent Pokemon of all time. That's just because everyone is the cat at this point.
It's a good night shoot.
It's just been around it so much that no longer affects you. Cineroar has pretty much been
Don't waste my time.
Higher than almost any other competitor. 2019, Cineroar had
Your life is mine. Time to shine.
And that's 65% at the NAX. And World's posted 83%. The
I must leave no stone unturned, as a dutiful maid would.
That's not what Cobble anytime soon. What makes this even more stacked? That it wasn't a but instead of put up almost the same numbers in 2022, we stuck at 70% higher every single international tournament. There's got to repeat the past year.
Let my name echo in song.
And it's back with a vengeance. Current stats.
Don't waste my time. I am the cutting edge of fashion. Lend me a hand. Steady as stone. Time to clean up.
Any Pokemon ever. It's the greatest Pokemon ever made. And yet, still not the highest Pokemon of all time. Not even exactly. What other Pokemon has actually managed to just sneak past BGC's undisputed game, even only for a brief moment? Generation 8's competitive BGC history was ruled by Pokemon who best exploit the Dynamax mechanic. Think of Charizard launching
Let's light it up!
I'll see it cutting down a loading play. Crazy Lightning and Thunders and a host of other
Gears of the storm! Dare to mess with me!
games were strong, but other Pokemon are harder than
Let's light it up! Too late for regrets! Adventure time! Everybody stand back!
Very rare.
Dare to mess with me!
Action combined with the offensive pressure.
Have fun with this gift!
Very
Huh?
and for as much. Everything offensive.
You're toast!
focus is different.
World, Mark 2, absorption test.
Teamwork is dreamwork.
Pouring the one spread that
Stand clear.
Cutting through any defensive
Light it up.
Too late for regret.
Going in.
4 acres gone.
Ears of the storm.
All that I say good.
Animal hypostasis emulation.
Creates once unpredictability. At the Dallas Regionals, one of the first Pokemon tournaments of the generation, Pokemon has added an impressive 67%.
Strike it out.
Time to shine.
Give up.
More on the top of
Your life is
all of
mine.
them.
Don't waste my time.
That razor claw.
I must leave no stone unturned, as a dutiful maid would.
First was out. Mother of Nature planning often for help. The fire. Can't be parents. Often for your lost God. Razor claw will walk here again. But Togekiss on the other side of the world. Mystery. Togekiss will first while
Let the world collide.
Give
at
up.
the same time.
Delicate as silk.
Steady as stone. Time to clean up.
That Togekiss is one of the most dominant Pokemon of all time. Generator has absolutely staggering 29 of the top 3.
Submit.
7 of the top 8. That's 90%.
Let my name echo in
That's
song.
never for an international tournament. For its only 73%.
Leave it all to me, as a dutiful maid would.
Okay, so technically if we missed the house, Cinderella's got slightly higher numbers prior, but why do we have to measure it by top 64 instead of top 3? This is my channel, and I can make whatever arbitrary cutoff I want. Get Landers, get Cinderella. Hey, I'm telling you my truth, which is that the Pokemon with the highest League beast users of all time is no intimidating turning given. It's Togekiss. And that's that on that. And that's it. This has been the most used Pokemon of all time in VGC. Let us know in the comments if you think we should have mentioned some other Pokemon that had impressive uses with this thing. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like the video and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe to False Life Gaming for Pokemon content. And thank you so much to our patrons for continued support of our videos. And thank you to everyone else watching as well. And follow my current social media platforms. And that's all I got. See you next time, everyone. And thank you so much to our Platinum tier patrons. Thank you so much to Raven Daytona Ring, Solar Sun, Croxon, Stoneface Colin, Eagle Tin, Ray Ray, Daniel Isnix, Richardson, Alex Sable, Kylaria, and Chica Chico in support of our videos.
Strike a pose. Let the world collide. It's nothing. Don't waste my time. Your life is mine. I am the cutting edge of fashion.
Let's go. As a good knight should.
Shower me with praise. Let my name echo in song. Give up. Submit. It's nothing.
Steady as stone, as a dutiful maid would.
Don't waste my time. Let me leave you a verse. Game's up. Fun's over.
Ready.
The Temple of Wisdom.
Lightning terrified! Stand with me! Rain outlines your fate.
like.
Quietly now. Punish.
Hey! Sharing my knowledge!
Witness the power of Google. Things are about to get dicey. Gotcha. Our bond is strong. Let me weave you up. Game's up. Fun's over.
The Temple of Wisdom!
Out of my sight. Winter.
Everyone will be!
Looking for a fight? Dissipate. Out of my way.
Hey!
Quietly now. Savor the dough in peace. No, my sword! I've warned you! Our bond is strong! Coach, rain cutter! Things are about to get dicey.
Make yourself a home!
Pardon me! Lightning terrified! A gift for
Everyone will be!
consideration. Gotcha. Time to... Which must go on.
No, fuck!
Unfortunately, it's no good at it. So
Extremely. Also, this piglet doesn't appreciate client pottery.
I just like their, printer sounds.
Yeah, start swinging the chain around.
Time to shine!
That's how I start conversations with the party. If I approach you doing this for a while.
Well, watch out!
Okay.
Your friend Denali! Observe! I must leave no stone unturned. Time to clean up.
Just sure to give you more
I'll
than
catch up.
shit. Oh my god. Solutions again.
This is the beautiful.
Coming at you!
Okay.
Strike a pose!
These guys.
Let the world come alive!
So, building like that.
Hey there!
Watch.
Observe!
Oh,
Break a
no
leg!
more wailing games up. You want to try to kill
Steady
one
as stone, as a dutiful maid would.
That's just like methodical fun. It's like when you go after someone with class.
Oh my.
Whoa!
Where did I go? Question.
Okay. So you use this. It's invisible.
Strike is one!
Oh, particle
Unstuck!
back. Pretty nice. Well, difficult.
Thanks.
I must leave no stone unturned. Time to clean up.
Is this a smile?
Coming at you!
Smiley face.
Dude, it looks like they have bags under their eyes.
I've seen so much.
Alright, how about some Mary?
What? Oh, is he okay?
Oh god, this is the submarine.
Oh, he's a submarine guy.
He's a living submarine.
Oh, that's excellent.
So when you attack it, it's a better shot. Whoa! Oh my god, that is torpedo fish!
Throws torpedoes? What?
Yeah, so that's one of its new symbiotes is
No way.
torpedo fish. Oh!
Kills him immediately. Oh, that's excellent.
Alright, when killed, they drop whale, or she blows.
That sounds gross.
So with this, you can craft them. Yes, that can float down as a chest plate.
Oh, buoy!
Got a torpedo launcher, but I don't have it, so I don't have to watch out of it.
Ew, is that like a flesh go on through?
Excuse me.
I'm fine.
Oh my god. Let me use the. To do this, you need a bucket of torpedo fish.
Of course, naturally.
Look, it's so small. It's got teeth on a tube. Yeah. Oh, where does it go? Infinite. Oh god, you put it down. Look out.
Time to shine.
Indicator.
Steady as stone, as a good night shirt.
I got its voice for That's skills. I can make a voice gun. I handle a voice gun. And I'm going to license to carry all my weapons. Makes whatever sounds in my left. Alright, that's the vinegar. Let's do the dexterous.
Watch out!
You get spiderized, fellas.
Naturally, a delicacy words.
Rubber send down!
That's crazy.
Beautiful made
Yeah,
wood.
that's
Wonderful.
will burn nearby monsters.
Hit it, buddy. Hit it, buddy. Come here. Come
What he does, he incinerates them.
That's awesome.
Nice. And then that's when I come in and finish the job.
Stop running.
So proper.
What about the toxic water?
I am the cutting edge of fashion.
He's got so printed on his tail that
Time to clean up.
It's the open. I think it's guano because guano is.
Rubber send down! From the sea
What's happening to me? What's the name of the what's the name of that?
Oh my gosh, those 5 words immediately when it comes.
It's a beautiful made wood.
Get this guy out of here. I don't want this guy living in here. Don't clip my wax wing. Out of here. Oh, you guys like music. This is the loser whale. Guess not.
I hate barnacles on it. I hate them so much.
So the barnacles are actually their own separate thing. So kill the barnacles.
Oh god. Okay, you'll have
Kill it. He's giving it blood, and they will explode when taken off.
Oh, that.
like that.
Oh,
And
they are.
until Plus falls out.
Witness power. Here comes the catch.
Right there.
I don't like this. I'm
Here
gonna
in my
think
valley.
this way. Like,
Stand with me!
Yeah, fair.
Out of my way!
No. What they have? The legs.
No, my soul.
The eggs of barnacles.
Rain outlines your face.
Good.
It's not dead. What about the... For safety.
Let me read you a verse.
I see everything!
Nintendo generations one egg.
Hey, look at him.
Space. It's got like a handle with that.
When they go between water or land, it's like drop their skin.
Me too, I guess.
Witness the power of Gua.
I see everything!
Why is tail like
Look at him swimming.
it's a dolphin? Oh,
That's so cool.
is it?
Wings
No.
are serious.
I like it.
Space. Now I can actually see his face. That's right.
Joggo skin.
Gotcha.
Snow gun.
wait, do you have a spotting?
Rain outlines your
Two.
face.
Swim at everything?
Stand with me. Rain cutter.
What about if I give him snow gun? Wow.
Game's
Storing your soul.
Literally not.
Exactly.
And it's cool. Wait, this.
I see everything!
So I have a couple questions. Just answer.
Tell it. If
No, my sword. Let me read you quietly now. Things are about to get dicey.
Commit to memory!
I'll be straight. It's just like some of the basic anime models and just little visual I've ever seen. But this is really cool. I genuinely love this.
What about the goat sucker?
I was like, what did you just say this was?
This one called? It's chupacabra, but that's what it translates to.
Hey there, goat. You'll never guess what you're about to have today.
Coming at ya! Attack!
bloodless. Oh, wait, it goes clear.
Oh my god!
I must leave no stone unturned as a good night shield.
Ew, stop spitting!
Stay back. I'll get him more distracted by stay delicious and funny. I'll get him inside.
Oh god!
I am the cutting edge of
He
fashion.
like repels me with a blood hell.
I mean, that is repulsive.
My name is Going
I am
Song.
Swedish, God. Oh god, oh god, oh god.
Leave it up to me
No,
as a
there's
beautiful
so
maid
many
woman.
ghosts. No, wait, shit.
Touchdown. Silver send-up.
Chupacabra spine, chupacabra.
Shower me with praise.
You guys care to make this sacrificial knight?
Of course.
Swing! Whoa!
Oh, can't do that now.
You're just AoE. You're not sweeping edge. This is crazy.
Oh, my soul.
No, he's in a bunch of clothes.
Witness the power of God. Test it.
Door scale.
Comes over.
Oh,
It didn't work. Door scale.
Make yourselves a home. Everyone who is.
Turn around. What are you doing? Stop. What's going on?
natural environment.
Rain outlines your quietly now.
Contain them. I know. I have door
What do you
scale.
think?
These happy eyes.
Out of my way.
What's that? Sit.
They use buttholes to check buttons on
Pounded to the ground.
Bring up.
Awesome, dude. Oh, they're actually really powerful.
Rain cutter.
Yeah, dude. You think I would take just any old door scale?
These are about to get dicey.
Keep the door still.
Yeah, door scale door. Scale? Scale. This is a fun one.
Okay, take this one that on top.
Everyone who is. Make yourselves a home. Rain outlines your face. Huh? Let me weave you a verse. Gotcha. Hands up.
I'll swallow this.
Someone
Why did you
rocket.
Sorry.
The fumble rocket.
Trouble.
Well, there it goes. Let me fumble.
Portions fall on us. Oh, man.
Alright, what about 5 line constellation fish?
What? It's gotta be a simpler name for that.
Okay. Look at it bounce
God. Is he half? Oh, God, Skip, you maniac! What are you doing?
Got him. It's fine.
Proper send-up.
Whoa!
I must leave no stone unturned. Time to clean up.
Got that. Don't make fish.
Yoo-hoo! Time to
Why?
shine.
Essence light. That's like calling it. It's get fish. They give you little fish lights.
It's nice.
Thanks for the constellations, guys. Cave lizard.
Proper send-up. From the delicate as silk.
Okay, bye.
Oh, my.
Leave it up to me as a beautiful maid
Waste
woman.
bug.
Strike a pose.
Man.
Let the world
See the bite,
What killed them will drop waste pods.
right?
come
Well,
at ya.
Nice big waste pod.
Proper send-up. From the skin of
My favorite sound.
should we be
Concerned about that? It has like a big fan style dust cloud around them.
Ah, where you go? Where you going?
Oh,
Where you
dude.
going?
Oh, it's like a nauseous vial. These are waste
Yeah.
pods.
Oh, I see. What am I doing?
Rain outlines your
Help me!
Oh, God.
Witness it.
It's like the object.
out of my way. Dissipate.
You just made it under your head. Stand right. Oh, the blood
These are
roots.
about to get dicey.
About the untouchable madness. The what? Untouchable.
Dan, are you insane?
They sent the water.
What is it right
Let me weave you a
here?
verse.
Upside down.
I like the little chin strap. Watch out for the problem. There's tennis. Oh, okay.
Here comes the
The
catch.
race is going.
Pretzel sticks.
So, like, I want to know genetic
I see everything.
codes, like, main ones for this
Get
whole
with me.
thing.
So, with the antenna, perhaps help us locate. Oh, reckless. Oh, I found them.
Rain cutter. Rain outlines your fate. Goodbye. But we'll meet again.
What about point?
Oh, my soul.
Oh, it's a lesser voice jump.
This is what
Oh,
I see everything.
parkour. This is the new elevator? No, that's
Let me weave you a verse.
Light
this video. Packed it with black candy, jelly remains behind.
Get with me.
Bottle.
That takes me away from that
Jelly bomb, man. Takes it from the jelly bomb. That's what it does. Give them top force fruit. Same place. That is sick, dude. They're not as disgusting and wretched as I thought.
Bond is strong.
This is a little nightmarish, but it's still Celsius stone.
Rain outlines your fate.
If given flanks, they'll turn them into burnt points.
No! Fuck!
There we go. What is that? What can I do with them? They grow wood.
Yes, burnt planks. Burnt planks, cracked burnt planks, or almost destroyed burnt planks.
Wow. Build a house fire. Excellent.
Oh, wait, you step on them. Yeah, look.
That's cool.
Dude, it's a Mario brick. Wow!
Oh, that's cool. Hang on. Now we gotta do. Okay. That didn't even much.
They're really great.
Yeah, they are right behind you. They're fully breaking behind you. That's sick. That is really cool. You guys ever hear about Mothman? Oh! It looks like a backpack flank.
That's my jam sport.
Yeah.
We're like one of those like blackboard erasers. What's up?
Speaking of erase, it's gone. I tried to kill it and it turned to.
No way! They block! Go into the house!
I'm trying to this is a guy. This looks like the guy from
Man, why are you spawning so much, man? Primal fear. Primal fear.
So there might be a little infection in the basement.
Damn! You gotta pay your rent.
What about the ghost fish shark?
Oh my god!
I like that he's just sunbathed.
Yeah,
Is he though? He's holding his hands. He's like,
Yes, she does!
So back, boys!
I am the cutting edge of fashion.
I must leave no stone unturned. Time to climb.
They just ate Doritos. That's
Watch out!
So if we give them the constellation
Time to
that
shine.
we got earlier,
this guy earlier.
they're
Yummy!
are they? Huge! Oh, I don't know.
Fish.
Leave it all to me, as a dwarf-made home.
Friends?
Between storing sharks in the ocean.
I have a cushion effect on the ghost fish.
Oh.
I see it work.
Let's go,
And I
Tomoto.
have ghost fish friends.
Wow.
I have those fits Walmart.
Nice.
Someone there.
Alright, next triple. The truffle?
You're telling me a strong life is You must get like a lot of good channels with that antenna.
Look at this code. I love them.
We can make them into waffle.
Hey there!
Just gonna say that he's got a ginger mustache.
Get the little goatee.
It's Philbo. Alright, fellas. This is the Joran.
Witness the power of book. Here comes the catch. Dissipate.
Oh my god.
You won.
Oh, you like
Yeah.
The Joran. That's the
Rain
marvelous.
outlines your fate. Terrified! Get with me inside.
We get the fire.
Rain cutter.
Have a monster.
Things are about to get dicey.
She's a valuable
I see everything.
It's like a flower with fire. Yeah, simple. It's just should have
Quietly now.
You'd be right.
Dissipate.
try it out. Oh no, don't try it out. Wow, Jen.
I don't know.
It's worse that you made me try it out too. And so my mistake is on your hands. So I don't
No, my soul. Let me leave you a bird. Here comes the catch.
I gotta get my truffle. Well done.
I'll settle this.
Have to kill them while they're alive.
Kill everything.
Alright, what about 10? One more time. Apples and spores. Spawn a bunch of monsters.
Time to act.
Okay. I'll keep you eventually.
Quietly now.
Four different things.
Game's up.
Spores that makes the monsters fight each other.
Knowledge.
Wow.
Oh, brother.
I'm curious.
Where are they going? What's happening?
Rain outlines your
Are they
fate.
attacking each other?
Let me lead you a path. Savor the show.
Look also wicked.
Grow, grow, grow.
Oh, he's got clothes.
Must go on.
So we're able to grab bubblegum, and when you shoot
The bond is strong. Know my sword.
That's
and use it as a way to tame them.
oh, I kind of like some maybe.
They're so
Really
cute.
satisfying.
I love it.
Oh, I do kind of like.
Oh, look at a baby like that! Baby, it's 2 inches tall. It's so cute. Guys, get out of the thing.
No, no!
Watch out.
Oh, I see it.
Delicate as silk.
Well, obviously, fully
Strike
dying.
a pose. Let the world collide.
Alright. Burberry trap.
Time clean up.
Crying.
Watch out. Represento.
I'm like, going.
Like a skull.
My name, echo and song. Shower me with
Guys, we got the delicious Burberry trout.
Ew, something about
I am the cutting edge of fashion.
What about the
As a
frost
good night
tiger?
show.
Wow.
Hey there, coming at ya. Fire. Well,
And if we did Burberry trout, baby. Alright, time to give it some Burberry trout. Let's go.
There you go.
steady
Fine.
as stone.
It's fine.
They will attack with slowness of target. Attack!
That it. Attack.
Thanks, bud. Don't put yourself out for it.
5 years old. A nice idea to do.
It doesn't look that bad.
Ooh, Frost Tiger is following.
This looks like a never-ending story. Hey! Look at
Keep going.
Yeah.
Represento.
Frank, they almost
Yeah.
the windows down.
Let my name, echo and song. Delicate as silk.
Back in his time, that was the most modern technology, dude. That's why he slows me down.
Leave it all to me.
Pulls you down.
As a beautiful maiden.
back where I am.
And oh my god, stop.
Alright, don't ignore this in chorus.
Oh my god! What actually just happened?
They cannot attack you directly, but they will possess other creatures to attack you.
Shower me with praise. Let the
They
world
possess a passive bomb that
Let
will
me
explode
ahead.
the ground.
Oh, I know.
I must leave.
Man, not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
God.
Candidly.
I am the cutting edge of fashion.
Oh my gosh, this is
As
seven
a good
hearts!
night show.
There we go. And then
Represento. Let my name, echo and song.
Possessed himself.
Hey there, coming at ya.
Oh, he does have, yeah. Kind of gross. He doesn't drop anything. It's the Wormion. What?
Ring pedal. Here comes the kill.
This.
No. Everyone will be the temple of
Applies to the
wisdom.
end dark lords of the end. To craft notification for you.
Out of my way.
Yeah, it's the only thing you're gonna say. Take notification potions.
Time to act. Rain outlines your fate. Things are about to get dicey.
This is ridiculous. That aerial.
Get with me.
Hey, come on, this looks like from up there.
It's
Where
like,
do you think
it's
you're
like a
going?
vegetable.
Castellano.
What's gonna be the second guess?
It looks like a mushroom. It's ancient nether sprouts.
Gonna be a 1 minute segment.
Rain outlines your fate.
Mine
Ring.
is stronger.
This way.
oh, it's really overpowered.
Gotcha.
Oh my god, no, oh my god,
And it made him strong by twisting vines. He said vine is dead. Let's try again. Dead.
Okay.
I see everything.
I'm on my way.
Good.
Thanks, Evan.
Have my guard down.
Other guys up here.
Get with me.
Alright,
Grow, grow, grow.
Marka. We're just gonna call it 4. So, this guy is an insult to the guy. Looks like a chicken. He's got like yellow and chicken out. It's chicken eye. Like sick one out. Chicken. Poison. Salmonella. Jello. This is good. Okay.
It's good. Stop making a mix.
You made that up for sure. Oh, I like Stan. Now, didn't even cut their tails to graphic dog. Those soup. Sounds delicious for me. Don't worry, tails grow back.
Coming at you! Showing you things! Time to shine!
The tasty tail. You could have used that. What about the divot?
Steady as stone. Time to clean up.
Oh, there's the doors. Oh, it's like
As a beautiful maid woman,
If you give them the heart of the sea, they grow over.
I must leave no stone unturned.
Dinosaurs. Yeah. That garbage now.
I am the cutting edge of fashion.
Great. That's awesome.
Let lightning echo in song.
This is the Reptoid.
Watch out!
Is Jury here? Like, what's going on? No, it's good. Like, power
Ring cutter.
reptiles. It's a lizard.
Grow. The temple of wisdom.
Love it.
Here comes the
Trade with
catch.
this.
Hey! Oh, you didn't even take it! I'll settle this.
Nice guy. I think a reptile bomb him. After that, trade weapons. Vampire bomb rocket.
Power to one. A bonded
I'm
strong.
just kind of saving up for Benji right
Where do
now.
you think
Want to
you're
trade? Need some
My
more.
love is
Landmine, dude.
my knowledge.
It's like that.
Straight dead. Oh! That dude. So like piggies. Strawberry tarts that just explode. Bomb rocket. I don't know what the bomb rocket is. No, I don't get my suit. Yeah, it's my suit shrunk in the wash.
Make yourselves at home. Ring cutter.
That's so funny. I love the conspiracy bot. What about this Gator?
Rain outlines him.
Sad Gator?
Huh?
They're the same
Power
as
put
Right.
us settled it. Game's up. Did with me.
Oh my gosh! Oh my god!
People will walk.
So if we take his skew, make a sand trap.
Well, don't worry, I've already built the sand
That's
trap.
everything.
Ow. Bomb rocket? Bomb rocket's absolutely 100% explode. How they explode? Give up. Ow! Alright, what about the belly whisk? Okay, a fat, oily catfish. Oh, I'm the best of us. That's rude. Let's feed on Flex Splash. Okay, we've got to spawn Flex Splash. Oh, it's an octopus! Oh! Oh, we're fighting each other!
It's a good night show.
Actually happening in front of my eyes. Okay, boys, come on! Oh, look at it! Oh, dude! Space on Oh my god! Elder Flex Splash! Scary gameplay right now. Cementing sex is possible to craft a perfect squirt gun that poisons their target. Oh, and poison. Sick. I like the gun. Okay, happy.
Let my name echo in song.
Should I? Bob's gonna crack. And with that, folks, these are things that you might like this video. So see if they're right. Have a good one. Alright?
From the Spino and Flow. Coming at ya. Let the world collide! Replicate! Scatter! As a dutiful maid would. I must leave. Fire! Well, watch out! Let my knight should.
Delicate as silk.
Attack!
Hey there!
Coming at ya!
This video was brought to you by Squarespace. This may not seem like a big deal to most people. In fact, I'd say that this news story came in best but it seems that one big reason
Strike a pose! As a dutiful
it
maid
involves Nintendo acting in a way that many properties. See? I'm not able to have this one step. My job is talking about the stakes
as a good
in the
knight
industry
should.
is really important.
Steady as time to shine.
Games mean a lot. But I do try to remind myself that if none of this should affect me, should regret. You know,
Delicate as silk.
get too upset about it. But
Strike a pose! Let the world come on!
this is one of those stories
Time to
that
clean up.
it makes me unforgiving.
Leave it all to me.
Look at it.
Fire!
I'm trying to I'm not going to go on a tirade and start a petition and all. But the
I am the cutting edge of fashion.
As a dutiful maid would.
this is therapy for me.
Hey there! A proper send-down! From Christina with
Years ago,
My name's Echo in Song!
especially after Sony
Steady
and
as stone.
plans to create a Kratos skin and Microsoft and the Masters. All eyes were on Nintendo. Characters from all over the sphere being gone
From the
being
Stina
added.
with
It was turning into a humongous collaboration between all entertainment mediums, a veritable everyone's ear of pop culture itself. So if everyone finds nice, but Nintendo follows it,
Our bond is strong!
Rain outlines your face. Let me weave you a verse.
This
made her look
and perhaps more importantly, Samus already
Take it easy.
innocent. But that means Samus is more big than
Here comes the
Mario. As much as I would like to see all of them shooting. So after Cat Back is late,
Terrified!
now things simply never.
Know my sword!
Then in 2021, a massive tournament
Witness the power of the wild.
some documents independent by Samus
Get with me!
let's discuss possible that this
Right, your glow. Temple of Wisdom.
himself if you know before you or maybe there was a real conversation.
Game's up. Fun's over.
It makes sense that someone in that try to get a Nintendo. But whatever the case, Chris Max
Rain outlines your face. Let me weave you a verse. Pour it in.
Chief Creative Officer.
Surely nice.
Get with me!
These are about to get messy. Grow.
Apparently, everything did.
Out of my way!
But Nintendo didn't want to do it, as the Samus skin was exclusive to the Switch. Well, you see, Fortnite doesn't do exclusive skins, and as far as I know, no one else has demanded exclusivity. Not Sony with Kratos, not Microsoft with Master. So every sorry! Yes, this is part
Time to clean up.
Nintendo. They are fiercely protecting their items. They want those items on their system.
Hey there! Time to shine!
Mario.
Excellent! I am the cutting edge of fashion!
As a good knight should.
Nintendo properties belong on Nintendo platforms, period. And we've seen this kind of console exclusivity before. The Samus car in Rocket League is exclusively Switch, and even way back in
As As a dutiful maid would.
Its own philosophy. A sense in Fortnite what it happens.
Let my echo in song. Delicate as silk. Fire!
The building my website are located. I went in with zero prior website building code. Yet Squarespace made the whole process.
Someone needs a
I can build, update,
Strike a
and
pose.
my website.
Let the world
Format, manage everything. I can save time by scheduling.
I must leave no stone unturned, as a good knight should.
I would need more advanced. Squarespace offers the and what I want to see on my site is doing, I can always dip into the super try out Squarespace. Any Squarespace.com trial. Then the Squarespace.com/Arlo to say
As a dutiful maid would.
And now for today's recommendation. I found this band on a list of artists similar to more. They are my principal obsession.
I am the cutting edge of fashion. As a good knight should.
And this first base now.
Hey there!
Okay, so this is going to sound like an aside. I promise it's relevant. In fact, you might laugh at how unnecessarily deep I go with this whole thing, but this is just how I work. Just me and me. Over the last I have been realizing a lot of stuff. And one huge thing, really huge thing, has been realizing how much my own anxiety has kept me penny.
You'll get it, boss.
Something I tell ourselves that things have to go a certain way, and that's why sometimes this means that a great outcome have this notion that from actually you don't even realize you're doing it. It just comes automatically. You say, no, I can't do this thing. It's simply not possible because of all of these reasons already realized. Back on my life.
Leave it all to me, as a dutiful maid would.
But I see now that I'm actually I would automatically assume I would rationalize why something
Time to clean up.
I would focus so hard on the downside that I was completely blind to the fact that the upside was
Let mine echo in song. Proper send down. From the Stina with
Nintendo is old enough to
Let's go. I must leave no stone unturned. As a dutiful maid,
I am the cutting edge of
It's
fashion.
a very long time to break through some of the nonsense logic. Now, some areas they have been successful, and in other areas.
time to shine.
Knowing that they now
Proper send down.
Samus in Fortnite simply
As a good knight should. Leave it all to me.
exceedingly frustrating. No doubt I'm
Delicate as silk.
writing this script as I see.
Let the world collide.
I understand all health and insights. Now let it know that I have no love. And I very much have no love. They are
Time to clean up. I must leave no stone unturned.
employees, etc. I personally do not care to see Samus in Fortnite, or any Nintendo character for that matter, because you won't catch me touching
This may
I
turn
will not play all my heroes, but just know that I have no mistake in but I'm willing to set aside my and look at business instead. And also, I feel that from the standpoint of a ritual. Nintendo, despite all their have made such categories
No, my sword.
any decision not to make. And I
Lightning terrified.
so blinding. I forgot a word, igniting their fear of change, fear of loosening their eyes, the grip on their minds. That they
Salvation.
see that the methods
Busted.
vastly outweigh outside. My factor
Here comes the cash.
Commit it to memory. Make yourselves at home.
Quietly now. Witness the power of
This may hurt a little.
successful games ever. The game, something of a past.
Commit it to memory.
Still. Oh,
busted. Know my source.
my poor little nephew frequently laments that he just wants someone to talk to about the dozens and dozens of Switch games he loves. But everyone in school just wants to talk about Fortnite all the time. If it ain't Fortnite, maybe Minecraft or doodling bugs and once, which seems to be a big thing according to this. They just don't care. Every single day, Fortnite is played by millions upon millions of kids and adults too, of course. It's basically as popular as you can ever expect a video game to be. I don't know if it's possible to get an audience much bigger than this. Metroid, on the other hand, our dear Metroid is a drop in the bucket compared to Fortnite. Lots of people know who Samus is, but historically, very few people tend to buy her games. For whatever baffling reason I cannot comprehend, the series has never done well in Japan, and even in the West, the numbers tend to be disappointing. Granted, it's not like Metroid has had a lot of opportunities to sell in recent years, but even Dread, which was highly acclaimed, exists in a time when Metroidvanias are more popular than playing it on a system with a humongous install base, and the honor of being the best-selling Metroid ever. Didn't really sell that well. About 3 million is good for Metroid, but it's a modest success in the great scheme of things. I don't quite know why the series struggles as it does. I guess I kind of feel like there are all these hurdles Nintendo keeps getting caught up on. Releasing great games on unsuccessful systems, releasing questionable games on successful systems, or releasing a great hit on a successful system, but at a price point that many probably feel doesn't quite like. That's my theory about Dread, anyway. There are a lot of Metroidvanias to choose from, and most of them are a lot cheaper than this. Whatever the case, though, I believe that out of all of Nintendo's many struggling IPs, Metroid has the biggest potential. Gameplay and world are appealing, it's more mature than their other legacy IPs, but doesn't isolate the younger audience. It's got loads of storytelling potential. I just know that Metroid, if handled correctly, would be so much. And one thing any struggling series needs is exposure. Sure, you and I might be intimately connected with Samus, but the greater game population. But a passing vague familiarity is the best you'll get. A lot. When you want to grow a property, one of the best things you do is get eyes on it. Get people looking at it. Get people curious what it's about. Just look at how much Smash Bros. Helped get people talking about Fire Emblem, the Mother series. If Samus had a skin in Fortnite, we're talking tens of millions of eyes on the character. And not just eyes either. This would be a chance for people to actually play as her. Sure, they have to pay, so it might not feel quite as organic as simply choosing a character in Smash Bros. But if the skin is cool enough, then I'm sure might get curious to try them out. And even just seeing her in the game, even just the pre-existing Metroid fans consider.
Wow, what the fuck was that? Why couldn't I deal so much damage?
When the initial announcement and release would drum up a ton of interest in Metroid all at once. Donald Mustard himself said that working with Nintendo would be the biggest hold that Samus would be the most popular character they'd ever introduced into the game. But working with Nintendo would feel like that big of a deal. Like Fortnite. Even humble little Samus would feel like that big of a win. Samus hitting Fortnite would be an event. And hey, who knows? Maybe when all was said and done, this wouldn't actually translate to a considerable uptick in people buying and playing Metroid games. Maybe I'm making a mountain apple but I'm of the opinion that it would at least be worth trying. Impressing the Metroid series upon that many people is without a doubt something worth trying. And even beyond Metroid, Nintendo itself could always use the publicity. This wouldn't just be a good look for Samus, but for all of Nintendo. They're doing just fine right now, but more is always better. And they might be reaching more age now than previous years, but like I said, Schoolyard Talk is still dominated by the competition. Get all those Fortnite players looking at these interviews and maybe even talking about Nintendo. It's literally just free advertising. All of this could happen easily. Samus could be in Fortnite right now. And maybe this really would lead to a huge boom for the series. Nintendo said they said no because they couldn't have things exactly their way. They're so fixated on this perfect world they've dreamed up for themselves that the idea of relaxing their control over their IPs just like ever so slightly is simply out of the question. They're that scared of the idea of letting a person play as one of their characters on a box that doesn't have their logo. They feel that all the publicity and what it could potentially do for their beloved series that has struggled for nearly 40 years simply not even sides. But what are the downsides? Really? Tangibly, practically speaking, what is the worst case scenario if Nintendo lets people play Samus on their PlayStation? Let's really look at it. Well, in this scenario, the downside would be Nintendo would no longer say that their characters have to stay on their perfect track record with the They would have to admit that sometimes, in some situations, exceptions can be made. That's it. That's the worst outcome. They didn't let that anyone say this in Fortnite because they decided that simply and that would break the rule that they made, the rule that should serve them, not the other way around. Their decision was made entirely on the basis of upholding an outdated, ridiculous rule that all along should have been more of, in terms of Captain Barbosa, a guideline. And Nintendo, let's say this is Fortnite. Because we can't. Because we can't. But why not? Because it's not a thing we do. Really, why not? Because that would break the rule. It's not that. Because the idea of a Nintendo character being played on another box
Shit.
Why? Just icky. It's just wrong. What about your mobile games? That's different. Why? Because those are easy games. So we control them. You could completely control how they depict Samus in Fortnite. But then people would be playing our character in a game that's not ours. And how would that be bad? It just won't. Okay, but like, surely, what harm would that do? How would that negatively impact the business? It would make people more of those games in boxes and explore lives. It absolutely wouldn't give anything. It would push them toward more games in boxes. Yes, it would. It would be bad. But if you logically look at what it could do, no logic, only rules. Rules keep us safe. Then Kurikawa knocks the life out of your hand and cuts it off. Again, Nintendo likes their little ecosystem. They like the idea that if you want to play a Nintendo thing, you gotta buy a Nintendo box, or at least a Nintendo game on your phone. But ecosystem shouldn't be those tight networks to allow room for it to grow. If you absolutely insist that the only way to experience Nintendo is under Nintendo's own terms, then you've got loads and loads of people who just go on not experiencing Nintendo. You really need to do it. You have to reach for those people. You've got to break out of your comfort zone. Let me tell you, good analogy time. Probably been waiting for this. Let's say you sell burritos. Is it better to say, anyone who wants one of my burritos has to come and buy it from my restaurant, period. It doesn't matter how much you want to try one. You'll come sit right here under this roof. You're out of luck because this restaurant, this one location being successful entirely on my terms is the only outcome I will accept. Or perhaps is it better to say, maybe we should find ways to reach new people with these burritos. Let's get in the truck and bring them. If you're trying to sell them to a whole crowd. Let's open up delivery options so people from all over town. Which sounds like the better strategy. Which sounds like helping your mics. And that's what's crazy. Nintendo wouldn't even have to get in the truck, so to speak. We're not even talking about crazier ideas like selling their games on PC or anything like that. This would be small beans. They would barely have to do any work. They would basically just say yes, let Epic do it, and sit back while their character rakes in the publicity. They would probably even get a cut of the sales of the skin. They would even make money.
You'll get lost by
They don't want that. Patronizing and money, not appealing in the slightest. To tie all this back to myself and my own realizations over the last years, I learned that doing new things, easing up on previously established rules, can't be scary. You can't help but worry about the potential damage that could result, the ways that things could go wrong. But trust me, nothing is more damaging than missing out on a great opportunity because you couldn't find the courage to just buy. Whether you're one person or a huge company, missing the chance to improve because you're too scared of something bad is just as bad, if not worse, as something bad actually happened. When you're all caught up in your own ruminations, trapped in circular reasoning, you're so focused on what could go wrong that you can't see what could go right, and constantly choosing the long path, avoiding growth because you're so scared of damage.
Let's go. Steady as stone, as a good knight should.
Damage to your life and livelihood that you might not. And this has been your daily thinking session, courtesy of Arlo. For further discussion on recognizing and overcoming a myriad of mental illnesses, tune into my streams.
As a dutiful maid would, leave it all to me.
Coming at ya!
Someone needs a sister.
I need to time these right.
I see everything.
This way! Gotcha! Brain cutter!
one more sin upon your soul.
Sharing my knowledge.
All my sin must pay.
Tough right there! Our bond is strong! Busted!
This may hurt a little.
No, my sword! Lightning purified!
No!
Gotcha!
Fight your salvation.
Yeah!
This may hurt a little. Yeah.
I need
Make yourselves at home.
redemption.
Committed to
Witness the power of the wasp. Here comes the catch.
This may hurt a little.
Quietly now.
One more sin upon your soul.
I'll settle this. Game's up. Runs over. Let me read you a verse.
Committed to memory. The Temple of Wisdom.
Stand with me.
Yeah. Grow, grow, grow.
Busted. No, my sword.
This may hurt a little.
No!
Fucking hell, why? One more try.
Hello, you lovely ladies and gentlemen. My name is Magnus, and I welcome you guys to another episode of Unit Analysis, the series where we take a look at units from Advance Wars in great detail. And today, we are checking out the Battlecopter, probably the most frequently built air unit in the game, and let's say one of the more popular units in Advance Wars as a whole. Battlecopters are a lot of fun to use, and they're just great versatile units that can do a lot of things, which is why they're so popular. Basically, one of the biggest reasons why they're built so frequently is the fact that they're incredibly affordable. It costs 9,000, which is not very much. You can feasibly afford them pretty early on. they only cost slightly more than tanks, which is the most popular game. And I would kind of say that the best way to compare Battle is they are airborne tanks. They attack many of the same targets that the tank can attack, but they fly. They fly now. So, sorry about that, that was incredibly French. So yeah, they can attack many of the same targets that the tank can attack, but they fly, so they're much better at causing terrain. They can dart over mountains, they can move over water, which again just makes them so incredibly mobile. And they also have great vision range in low class versus the tank at 3, so they can see a pretty far distance. You can use them to scout your opponent, which again needs to be even more reasons to be used. I mean, they're not just combat, they're also great reconnaissance. Because the recons might not sometimes be able to scout that very well if they're being held back by rivers and mountains and whatnot, whereas the Battlecopter can do that just fine. So, one of the other reasons why the Battlecopter is so good, in my opinion, is the fact that it doesn't require a base to be built. It's a combat unit that can be built at the airport. In many competitive Advanced Wars by Web maps, you'll have 2 bases and an airport. Maybe 3 bases on bigger maps, but on many of the smaller league maps, it's not uncommon for you to be restricted to just 2 bases. So you can only build 2 ground units. Most people will prefer to build a tank and an infantry maybe, that's a good build order. But if you want to maximize the potential units that you can get out on the field, it's much more important to incorporate a Battlecopter into your build order, because then you can build a Battlecopter or a Battlecopter and an infantry person. And it's very powerful because, as I've said multiple times, Advanced Wars is a game that is all about quantity versus quality. So if it has more units on the map, it's generally in a much better position than the other player. So, on maps with an airport, and on maps where you are limited by the amount of bases that you have, it's a very good idea to get a bunch of Battlecopters out. But of course, the natural response to a Battlecopter is an anti-air. And once you start spamming Battlecopters, your opponents will start spamming anti-air. At some point, there's just going to be too many anti-airs around on the battlefield for your Battlecopters to be able to do anything. But of course, the is being able to counter your opponent's anti-air with your tanks so that your Battlecopters can attack. It's as XLM said, it's the weapon triangle of Advanced Wars. Battlecopters counters tanks, tanks counters anti-air, and counters Battlecopters. And that is the eternal dance. In most competitive matches that stay around the mid-gaming bracket, it's going to be, you want to essentially shoot down your opponent's anti-air with tanks so that your Battlecopters are free to attack their tanks, because Battlecopters are counter tanks. I mean, they hardly take any damage back. They do as much damage to tanks as your tanks do, but they don't take any damage back because they're very resistant to machine gun fire. And of course, the tank's primary weapons, the cannons, can't shoot at the Battlecopters. So, whenever you can get your Battlecopters position. And another thing that most people tend to forget is that once anti-air are sufficiently damaged, you can actually pick them off just fine with Battlecopters. So anti-airs need to be on around 7 HP to be viable. If you try to attack an anti-air with 7 HP left, your Battlecopter is going to take quite a pounding back, as you can see right here. This is not fantastic. It's not terrible though if you have more Battlecopters around. As you can see right here, once anti-air starts to get injured, you can basically start picking them up with Battlecopters. So again, anti-air needs to be on, they need to be either on defensive terrain like a city, or they need to be relatively at full strength in order to actually be able to fight back against Battlecopters. So one thing that I've done in many of my league matches is to simply just spam a bunch of Battlecopters and build a couple of tanks, and then focus target the opponent's anti-air with my tanks, and then pick off the remaining anti-air with my Battlecopters. And it's pretty funny what will happen once your opponent starts losing their anti-air. Many of them will panic and they'll start mass-producing anti-air. And then you can swap into tanks to punish that. So again, it's an eternal dance of countering your opponent's countering of your countering and then countering their countering. It's just, it's an eternal cycle. Like whoever can harvest ahead usually come out on top. So, the Battlecopter is just, it's a unit that you'll see a lot in most matches, simply because of that. It's a unit you'll have to deal with. Now, against itself, I mean, the thing about battlecopters is that they have a very volatile mirror matchup. Most units that attack other units of similar types will deal 55% damage, but with the battlecopter they actually deal 65% damage. So it's all about getting the first strike. And of course, battlecopters never get terrain stars because they're their units, so whoever gets the first strike with their battlecopters will win. Now, outside of Fog of War, it's not very likely that you'll get first strikes on other battlecopters because usually they'll dance inside each other's range and they'll be guarded by anti-air. But in Fog of War, whoever can scout out the opponent's battlecopters and actually get the first strike will win very, very handily. So, however, if you actually get to attack a battlecopter at an airport, it is still good for you to do that, actually. As you can see right here, even if your opponent's battlecopter gets repaired up 5 HP and they get to strike back at you, you'll probably still win the engagement, even if they're on an airport. So it's all about getting that first strike, it's all about getting that proper positioning. But battlecopter can do so much more. As I said, it's also a great scout, and one of the things that the battlecopter can actually do pretty well is scout out enemy forests. Since it has 99 fuel and flying damage, it can do a lot of scouting like this. For example, you can see there, this is a pretty large forest right here, and there could be a lot of indirect hit inside. And we can basically use a single battlecopter to scout out a very large portion of forest. Look at that, it still has 76 fuel left. Usually is not a problem in terms of fuel. It only uses 2 fuel per day too to stay afloat, so it's not that much in need for supply. So I often use my battlecopters to scout out large swaths of enemy forests to try and find those hidden indirects, at least on bigger maps where indirects tend to be hidden in forests. So again, the battlecopter is an insanely versatile unit. It can do a lot of things. Now, you should look at the map when deciding whether or not you should focus heavily on battlecopters. Generally speaking, the 2 terrain types that the battlecopter really likes are mountains and rivers in particular. Rivers really make battlecopters so much more viable, because rivers, of course, anti-air can't cross them. And one of the things that the battlecopter do is you can just do this. Dart on the other side of the river, and suddenly, what can the anti-air do? Nothing. Of course, your opponent may deploy missiles, but I kind of make the argument that missiles are not great against battlecopters. I would say missiles are mostly deployed in order to hope and snipe down enemy bombers and fighters, because the battlecopters can just so easily dart inside the range of missiles. And if the battlecopter actually gets close, it'll just demolish the missiles. And what can the missile do in this situation? It requires anti-air to help it out, or maybe another battlecopter fire. So look for rivers and mountains. They're fantastic for your battlecopters. Of course, in a mountain range like this, for example, as long as the battlecopter stays here, it can never be targeted by anti-air. It is completely shielded by any anti-air. The opponent will need a fighter or a battlecopter to take down this fighter. Of course, in most matches, you're not going to easily be able to afford a fighter. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah, it's just one of the reasons why Sensei is so strong is because he specializes in battlecopters. Eagle 2 has some better battlecopters, and that is just so incredibly valuable, because again, they are one of the most versatile units in the game. I'd say aside, if we were to make a chart of units that are most frequently built, I'd say it'll probably be the infantry, and then the tank, and maybe the medic and recon. But the battlecopter would definitely be in the top 5, I think, on most maps, because again, it is one of the most versatile units in the game. Cheap, it's affordable, attacks many different units. Now, speaking of that, let's have a look at how the battlecopter actually compares to many of the other units, shall we? So against infantry, the battlecopter does the same damage as the tank. Again, you'll see a lot of similar damage values to tanks here. And I say this in every episode, but even though I am playing a Sensei here, they're disabling powers, so these battlecopters are not any better than usual. Sensei gets a whopping 50% increase to his battlecopter firepower, which is just incredible. I don't know what they were thinking when they designed it. I'm also including infantry on cities here to show how well the battlecopter interrupts naps. It will do 52% base damage, which means that you have a very slight chance of doing 6 HP of damage, but most of the time you can expect the battlecopter to do 5 HP of damage to a capping infantry, which is enough to delay its capture significantly. The battlecopter does exactly similar damage with X 75%, so these are not any more resistant to battlecopter fire than we are. Normally the mechs tend to take 5 to 10% less damage from most sources, but not from battlecopters. They do 55% damage to recons. They actually do a little bit less damage to recons than tanks do. Against tanks, the battlecopter dude does 55% damage, which is as much as other tanks. This is why I have more airborne tanks. But as you can see, they take next to no damage back because they are very resistant to that machine gun fire. Now, after you attack a bunch of different infantry, you will see the battlecopter fall to 9 HP to the luck damage that they deal. So battlecopters will slowly start losing their mind. While they take almost no damage back, they will slowly start to lose their mind as they attack multiple targets. They deal 25% damage to medium tanks, which is pretty damn good. The medium tank will usually do 1 HP of damage back to the battlecopter though. This is definitely a good engagement for you to take. Even against Neo tanks, they do 20%, which is pretty damn good. Cost-effective wise, this is really good, even though the Neo tanks will sometimes deal 2 HP of damage back to the battlecopter itself. The battlecopter does 60% damage to APC, so they're not able to one-shot APCs even out in the open. They do very well against enemy indirect, 65% damage to artillery. So, battlecopters are a great counter threats. Whenever you're playing against rich in the league, definitely spam battlecopters because that will force you to build anti-air missiles to defend themselves. So that's always great. Catching rockets out in the open is always fantastic. Battlecopters deal 65% base damage, they absolutely annihilate rockets, even when they're on turning. Against anti-air, if you attack anti-air, even out on roads, you will get absolutely demolished on the counter-attack. Even when you have firepower increases, this is not a very smart thing to do. Unless, of course, the anti-air is below half health. Then, at that point, it becomes pretty liable to attack it. Against missiles, as we've already shown, the battlecopter does really well, 65% base damage. So missiles, not a great counter to battlecopters, they're simply too mobile. When battlecopters attack transport copters, it's a coin flip whether or not they shoot them down or not, which is incredibly annoying because the difference between shooting down a transport and not shooting it down is pretty significant. Of course, if you have a small firepower increase, if you're Eagle, for example, or Combine, you have a big firepower increase, or Hawk, you will always shoot down your opponent transports. However, if you are playing a neutral seal that has no firepower increases, and you're up against a seal with defense like Eagle, you will not shoot down transports in one shot. So, that's something to keep in mind. Battlecopters are even effective against the battleships. They do 25% base damage, which is pretty damn good considering that's a unit worth 28,000. So whenever you get a chance to attack a battleship with a battlecopter, always take it. Battlecopters are even good against cruisers, which is a unit that is supposed to counter them. But as you can see, this is not balanced at all, considering this is a unit worth twice as much and they do practically the same damage. It's another story if the cruiser gets to attack first, obviously, but this is pretty pathetic. Battlecopters are not fantastic against landers. This is not something I would do unless the battlecopter has nothing else to attack. They only deal about 3 HP of damage, and if the sub happens to not be submerged, they can also shoot on it, dealing the same damage that they do to the battleship. And this is obviously still a pretty nice thing to do, considering the sub is so expensive, but most of the time this is not something you get to do. Now, as for the battlecopter's defenses, infantry does 7% base damage to battlecopters, so they'll usually take a hit point off depending on their luck roll. This starts to be viable to do once the battlecopter drops low. I have definitely used infantry to finish off weakened battlecopters many times, and that's definitely something you can do. Mechs do a little bit more at 9%, so they are almost guaranteed to take a hit from your battlecopter, but again, this is not something you do most of the time. Recons do 10%, so only slightly more than infantry. Definitely not something you want to do. Yeah, only do this for finishing off weakened battlecopters. Tanks do the same thing actually, or 1% more than 30 battlecopters. So again, not a fantastic unit to attack the battlecopter with. As you can see, the battlecopter is just very resistant damage. Medium tank, only 12% damage, so even though the units are getting progressively more expensive, you can see that their damage doesn't really go up that much. Here, even the Neo tank. The Neo tank does a lot more than the medium tank at 12%, which is honestly very impressive. Like, it actually does more than twice as much to battlecopters as medium tanks do. While not being twice as expensive. I still wouldn't say this is a good engagement, but if the battlecopter is weakened, the Neo tank can actually easily shoot it down. Obviously, as we've covered, the Empire is the hard counter to the battlecopters. Of course, the Empire still needs to reach the battlecopter, which is the biggest problem with most of its matches. But of course, once it it does, the Battlecopter is dead. Same goes for the missile, obviously. Same damage as the Empire, but from a distance. If you can get a missile into a good position like a forest and snipe down a couple of Battlecopters, that's obviously good. But in most matches, this is not really something that is going to happen. Fighters are also a very good counter to Battlecopters, but being over twice as expensive, it means the fighter has to shoot down at least 2 Battlecopters just to earn itself in, which isn't actually that likely to happen. So, while I would say the fighter hard counters Battlecopters, it has to do very well in order to actually earn itself in. As we already talked about, the mirror match of the 65%, it's point click whether you use 7 or 6 HP damage to the Battlecopter, so the first strike complaints. And while the booster kinda sucks against the Battlecopter, at the very least, if it gets to attack first, it will wipe the Battlecopter out completely. So, I think as you right here, the Battlecopter is a unit that is very extreme on both ends. It either gets completely demolished or it takes next to no damage. So, it's a unit that relies completely on getting countered. It's a counter unit, pretty much. It does very good damage to most of the units in the game, as you can see right here. I mean, this is just fantastic. I mean, look how versatile this is. It practically does well against any unit in the game, except for a few. So, I mean, that's versatility right there. And it takes practically no damage, except from a few units. So that is why the Battlecopter is so incredibly popular, that is why it is so incredibly good, and that's why we see Battlecopters built so incredibly frequently in almost every single match. Now the other thing I haven't talked about with the Battlecopter is its missiles, the amount of shots that it has. It has 6 shots before you're missing life. Some people will point out that this is not that much, but I will say the same thing that I say with pretty much any unit in the game. If your Battlecopter runs out of ammo, that means you have a pretty damn good Battlecopter that has earned itself in completely times over. And if you're worried about needing an NPC to resupply it, don't. If your Battlecopter gets to shoot 6 times with missiles, most likely it's earned itself in and been an incredibly valuable unit. So that's not something you need to worry about. The Battlecopter will most likely die before it even gets to shoot 3 missiles. So, but yeah, again, the dance between Battlecopters and tanks probably is the thing that defines competitive play the most, I'd say. And when it comes to building Battlecopters, it honestly depends a lot on your gut feeling. In most matches, it really depends on, you know, have my opponent actually built an anti-air or have they not? And have they moved it out or not? And being able to predict your opponent's movement and whether or not they build Battlecopters or anti-air or not, that is honestly what defines the highest rated players, I'd say. Their gut feeling, depending on how well they're able to beat opponents. And it really is spectacular to see some of the top level players, how good they actually are at predicting when the Battlecopter is coming out and when it's not coming out. It honestly is spectacular. Just keep in mind that when you're building an anti-air, it's always good to have anti-air in the field. Even if your opponent doesn't build a Battlecopter right away, the anti-air is still fantastic against infantry. I'll talk more about that in the eventual anti-air review that I have.
Where do you think you're going?
Just remember, it's always a good idea to build anti-air to counter potential Battlecopters. And it's always a good idea to build Battlecopters, even if your opponent has anti-air. That is not who they are. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think about the Battlecopters. I'm assuming most of you guys will really like them. I don't really think they need to be changed in any way. They've stayed consistent for most of Advanced Wars, and I think there's a good reason for that. But do let me know if you think there should be any changes to the Battlecopter. I always like to see you guys' comments and recommendations. And let me know what unit you would like to see me review next. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye.
Witness the power of the I see everything! It's overruled! Overruled! Out of my way!
Witness my rise.
Be with you. I holy proclamation.
No, my sword! Upon is strong!
The truth.
Rain cutter!
Be with the power name of the revelation. Grace be upon you. Find you. The power
Stand with me!
of the truth.
Are they right on
you free.
Rain outlines your fate.
Grace be upon you. Hear ye the word.
Lay to bear.
Succeed shall endure.
Pitiful.
Commit it to memory.
Grace be upon you.
No, my sword.
And hope find you. The power of revelation. Grace be upon you.
Our bond is strong.
Hear ye the words of joy. The truth shall set you free.
This may turn you away.
The door is open unto you. You'll get frostbite, Chris.
Proper send-up. Time to shine. Strike a pop, drops of color. Scatter. Let's go. As a dutiful maid would.
It's time to unlash your shield to the
Watch out.
freshest preserve.
Fire! Well, with thought. Let my name echo in song. Don't
The fuck?
look at me.
I didn't switch.
You'll get frostbite,
Proper send-up. From the skein of commoners. Showering you with praise. Time to shine. I am the cutting edge of fashion. Leave it up to me, as a good knight should. Hey there!
shield to the bone.
Ladies, gentlemen,
My
name is Maze, and today I bring you guys an absolutely insane adult sports match. Today we're going to be witness to a Grandmaster naval battle, Drake and Sturm, taken from the finals of an adult sports tournament, Open Sport Cup. And the players that we will be watching duking it out today are players that I know really well, and they are insanely good at what they do. In one corner, playing as Drake, we have Toulouse. He's been featured on this channel many times before. He's been part of, I think, every single Grandmaster Live tournament. He's a moderator on the site. He recently won 2 tournaments. He hasn't played a global league match in a while. I think if he wanted to, he could probably reach 1600. He's an incredibly strong player. Very, very difficult to defeat. He can take games against pretty much anyone on the site. But he's going up against a player that recently has risen quickly through the ranks in Kill Me First. I remember when this guy came onto the scene. I think I covered him on a game on this channel before. He recently rose very highly through the ladder and is now a 1600 rated player. I remember back in the day when this was considered like an epic feat. I think I made a video when he could guard 1600. And you can see, Kill Me First has also recently won the tournament, the Wacky Cup. And he's just risen to just insane levels lately. I remember a lot of the Grandmasters said he had a lot of potential, and they were right. And now these two titans will be going head to head in this absolutely insane, able-oriented 5 funds match. This map is called Keeper of
you can see just by the way that it's structured that naval units are going to play a big key in this map. It's a mixed base map, which means the bases are split. You have Black Hole on this side has this base, and this base, and this base. There's like 3 bases, and with the it's a 4-base mixed base map, which is pretty insane. And then, of course, you have Green Player has a base here, here, and 2 bases here. And of course, lots and lots and lots of harbors. Look at this. 1 harbor, 2 harbor, 3 harbors. Saying that the water is position means that battleships will walk down every part of the map. In fact, I think battleships can reach every single base on this map. So if you don't build naval units, you simply will not be able to. Right now, there are airports. I think every naval battle should have airports because air units can kind of mix up the naval battle a little bit. Makes the carriers a lot better, for example. But as you can see, the airports are on islands and they're far away. So they take a while to get to, but of course, once you do, in a map such as this, what kind of naval unit?
Fucking hell, I give up.
You'll see carriers, of course. May even see cruisers. It's actually going to be pretty insane. So I'm very excited to see how this match is going to play out. It's a high funds match, as I said. So we got 2,000 income per property, which means that with all these properties, it's going to be pretty insane.